Today, we're going to take a look at the leader of the opposition in Canada's Senate and see what he says about his country's Jewish population and his concern about their safety.
Senator Housakos.
Honorable Senators, I rise today to plainly say what few others appear willing to say. Jews are no longer safe in our country. It's not that they feel unsafe, they are unsafe. And we as politicians are in no small part to blame. Antisemitism and Jew hatred is now expressed openly, shamelessly, and without restraint in Canada. It appears in our streets, on our campuses, on social media, and even in the rhetoric of certain Western political leaders who willingly or not repeat Hamas talking points to attack Israel. Recently, the Liberal government made the troubling decision to summon the Israeli ambassador not to express solidarity in the face of rising anti-Semitism, but to reprimand Israel after warning shots were fired in the vicinity of a diplomatic delegation that had veered off an agreed-upon path in a combat zone, a luxury not afforded the more than 1,200 innocent Israelis murdered on October the 7th, and certainly not afforded the 2 Israeli diplomatic staff who were murdered days later in Washington, D.C. by a pro-Hamas militant as they left a cultural event at the Jewish Museum. Meanwhile, here in Canada, Charlotte Cates, the international coordinator of a terrorist group, Samadoun, publicly justified the murder of those 2 young Israelis and brazenly insinuated that the same should happen here in Canada. But we're lecturing Israel. We hear chants in our streets, like from the river to the sea, and calls for intifada. These are not harmless slogans. What does our government do? We issue a joint statement with the UK and France condemning Israel's military operation in Gaza. That statement was praised, honorable colleagues, by Hamas. This is now the second time that the terrorist organization has publicly expressed support for Canada's position. When a group responsible for the murder of over 1,200 civilians, including 8 Canadians, applauds your foreign policy, you're definitely on the wrong side of history and on the wrong path. Let's be clear. This war could end tomorrow, and millions of Palestinians could be liberated from the tyranny of Hamas if that terrorist group laid down its weapons, released the hostages, and abandoned its mission of destruction. That's the only statement Canada should be issuing and the only statement we should be supporting. Canada needs to stand unequivocally with its ally Israel, not only to bring home the hostages, but also to make it clear that Jewish Canadians that are here in Canada should be safe in their homes and in their country. Thank you.
Okay, there you have it. Everyone looks so lively while he was talking there. So that was Senator Leo Housakos, and he is the leader of the opposition in the Senate right now in Canada, who's recently appointed. So basically you see one of Canada's senators basically speaking out the basic facts most of us already know. It's nice he brings it to the forefront alive in the Senate, sort of rehashing that information. Not sure if anyone there doesn't know it already. But again, it's just nice to have that talking point there and bring that to the forefront of the issue, especially after what Canada did, where they teamed up with France and UK and sort of were berating Israel for that little incident that happened there, and also with what's happening in Gaza. Just firstly, as you might have noticed, Canada's politics are definitely not as exciting as America's. I don't think we're anywhere near the publicity that Trump's team is getting. Even on a random Tuesday, you'll have Caroline Leavitt having like a frenzy of journalists just waiting to see what they have to say on the latest updates. That's definitely not the case here in Canada. It's quite concealed and boring. Maybe not on purpose, but I think people just don't get as excited as Canadian politics. You can technically go down there live and see these, I believe. You just have to go through the right channels. And second is that Canada stands, especially with the new continuation of the Liberal Party's reign in Canada, is that they're pretty clear cut. They're a neutral party. They claim to stay neutral as possible, and just even though the Palestinian side often gets rowdy and they'll constantly try to push the boundaries for what they can get away with. Officially on paper, Canada is like a neutral. They try to be neutral, but I think on the ground, Canadians are noticing that they're more siding with the Palestinian cause. And I think it's partly because they're scared to engage with the protesters and, push them to, maybe perhaps even get riots in Canada like we see in LA right now. So I think the government feels like they're walking on eggshells with these protests, so they just sort of let them get away with whatever they can. They'll make these like token protests here and there, token arrests of one of the protesters here and there when they need to, but I think that's about it. So again, we see that the Palestinian movement here in Canada is violent. They're slowly inching their way forward to see what they can get away with, and they're just getting more brazen. So, which is again why the senators bring to the front the fact that Jews are feeling unsafe with this types of actions coming closer to Jewish neighborhoods and infiltrating into there, and these kind of actions happening. So we definitely feel it here in Canada that the anti-Semitism is rising, and it's quite open when you meet the right people. But again, as always, stay safe, be aware, but again, don't be scared. Remember, historically, we've been through and overcome much worse. So you're here with Jewish Uncensored. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I'm Israel Chai.